It's the final day of week 1 here in the Gold Team League, but don't be afraid, there's at least 8 more weeks where that came from, and plenty of action still to take place today. It's the re-emergence of Team Liquid and World Elite playing their second match of the week. Both players losing in the first time around, so already the prospect of going 0-2 in an 8-team league, definitely not where you want to be, stating the obvious somewhat. Where you do want to be is playing Zoo with double Scrap Imp in your opener. That is definitely where I want to be. And it's where YuYi finds himself, and all he really needs to do is work out exactly how greedy he wants to be with his other cards. Nice problem to have. So Bunny on the other hand with the Rogue. Not a bad opener. It looks like it's terrible, but obviously getting the Cat and the Seal Fate, you know, you're going to be able to kill some stuff. A lot of it is out of your hands when you play against Zoo, or especially back then. So just going to have to see what he can do. At least he's going to be able to challenge the board early. That's the number one thing he's got to attempt to get into, as we do have some sort of disconnect here. Thankfully it doesn't last very long at all. We can move on with the game. So he did actually throw one of the Scrap Imps away, maybe thinking that whilst it would be okay, it wouldn't be good enough, and sometimes you just need better things to do than turn everything into some sort of amazing minion. You may have heard me fumbling around there for a second. Just was trying to find out what Jar Dealer exactly does. It's just Death Rattle, add a random 1-cost minion to your hand. So it's just a 1/1 for 1 card that I didn't see in the versions of Zoo that I played a month ago, and if I did, I just blanked it. I'm sorry about that. But that is the minion on the right hand side. Quite a surprising choice, actually. I think there might only be one of them in the deck. And just to... I mean, I should be able to work it out, but sometimes when I look at the Chinese names, it throws me further. The Clay Pot Merchant being the Jar Dealer. The translations not suited necessarily to Hearthstone cards sometimes, even though it's quite clear what that means. Zephyrus won't be active as he takes a quick look. Yep, definitely no active Zephyrus there. There's a lot of stuff going on. The rest of the deck is in fact very standard, apart from the one Jar Dealer. YuYi looking in a good spot, but all the removal that Bunny could want is at least in his hand. The problem being that he can't really occupy the board very well, and he can only kill one thing a turn, and killing things for 3 mana that cost 1 mana to play doesn't end up with you getting onto the board like you would want to. But Flick may well get a 2-for-1 further down the line. And Bunny should at least be able to kill off some things. The lack of a carpet here will slow YuYi down a little. These two are familiar with each other. YuYi came top 16 in HCT Summer in 2018, and if that tournament sounds familiar to you, it's because Bunnyhoppor won that championship event. They didn't play each other at the event. They were in different groups. YuYi didn't get out of the groups, and Bunnyhoppor obviously went on to win. But yeah, the players do tend to see quite a bit of each other at these events. I imagine that they know each other reasonably well. So yeah, the Bunnyhoppor then went on to come second in the next championship event, or in the winter championship event, I believe. So not a bad event for Bunny. So this will be the last time we see Bunnyhoppor for 2 or 3 weeks after this game. Same with all the players, for YuYi as well, but taking it from the European point of view, because I'm the European, it will be Frozen and Purple playing one way or another in the next 2 weeks. The fourth member of Liquid is WTY Bill, who you may remember from various championships back in the day. I don't believe the coaches are eligible to play, but I'm not sure how that works, as in the second phase, opposing teams get to ban out players, so I need to work out how that works, because if you've got a team of 3 that have got to play for 3 weeks and one of you is banned out, that doesn't sound right. So I'll look into that as we get towards the second phase, week 4. Try and work out exactly what the rules are for you and clarify that. But at the moment, it's watching a masterclass in how to try and keep the board, and Bunny's done a really, really good job of this. Just making sure there's always something on the board to challenge with. Obviously, the ambush helped a lot, but it almost needs urgent attention. Obviously, again, reminder, because I'm going to fall for it at some point. It's going to catch me. Zephyr's not active. Yeah, so the thing to do here is just get something on the board, get rid of this annoying ambush minion, and make Bunny have something else. And this is where occupying the board is so, so important. Okay, that backstab comes in to ruin my points slightly, but with the Seal Fate, the Praise Galacon, and the minion on board, and the face, you can actually clear up the board once again. Having that 1-1 just giving you the leverage to be able to do that. And now again, with that Lackey would have been even more even without this. So constant reminder, even though it doesn't look like it's doing much, how important 1-1s can be just to have something on that board. Just go here. It looks like you'd take the 5-3 most of the time. Deathwing can be surprisingly good against Warlock. Like, you blow up their board when they get towards the end of the game, you just kill them in a turn, and they cannot remove it. But that's a long way off, and this is going to be an interesting choice. It feels like the 5-3 worm is just the choice, but when does Bunnyhoppor get to play that? He's got the Kronks he wants to play, he's got the Flick he wants to play, and he's decided, you know what, if I'm not playing these cards till turn 8 anyway, because of the high casting costs, I might as well have the Deathwing in my arsenal. I don't think I'm going to be dead until turn 10 with the removal I have in hand. Let's have Deathwing available to me to do some serious tidying up. And it's not just tidying up, it's also winning of the Hearthstone game. Which some might say is quite important. So, most of the remnants of the opening hand now that were buffed by the Scrap Imp are gone. And from here on in, YuYi is going to have to play fair. And by play fair, I mean he's got Zephyrus, Carpet. Yeah, he's still in a good spot, but fairer than he was playing at least. This Zoo deck sort of gets all of its cheat out of the way early on, and then you rely on that momentum to carry you over the finishing line. One thing that's interesting about watching Bunnyhoppor is how you, because you're forced to spend time while you're watching him, how you learn to find other options. So here you look at Shiv and you go, well, Flick, Sky Shiv. You go, well, obviously I just flick this thing out of the way, the 7-6, and, you know, goodbye to it. And that is what he's going to do. And a lot of the time your instinct play is what Bunnyhoppor does. But you spend time looking at some of the other ways you could approach that then. Yeah, maybe play Shield of Galacon and give it some rush, bump it in, put it in the way of your opposing minions, save your Flick, try and get a 2-for-1 from it. You learn other possibilities, and even though they're often bad, eventually you learn new techniques that could help you in other or similar situations where they're not bad. So I'm a big fan of watching Bunnyhoppor, both because he's very good at Hearthstone, and also because it helps me get better. YuYi looks like he's here for the fight. He doesn't feel pressured at all. And we saw it with XHX actually yesterday, where, yeah, my opponent's slow, but that's actually fine. I don't mind the extra thinking time. And this is where sometimes the fast players, such as Casey or Zigzo in the olden days, Against players who like to have a lot of time, those fast players could sometimes put on pressure of a different kind just by playing very well and quickly, even if they were slightly less accurate occasionally. This is actually a game played between two people, not just a problem to solve. Although if you approach each turn as a problem to solve, that can work out very well for you. So Bunnyhoppor here, obviously the immediate concern is how to deal with this carpet, and the immediate answer is you can't. So what he'll be now trying to do is work out when he wants to play this miscreant. Lackeys will be good against this sort of board. Against small minions that are coming down against him. In general, lackeys from, say, the Shield of Galakrond and the fact you can already give it rush are good things. Because you can pretty much go 1-for-1 with them and sometimes even trade up. But going for the Kronks and the buff is more mana efficient than playing the Shield of Galakrond. And Bunny's decided having access to a lackey every single turn is a big deal. I'll say YuYi's out of cheats, but they do have this card draw mechanism in Zoo that is so cheaty and keeps the damage coming. And Rogue just doesn't have the ability to clear wide boards. When Zoo gets to this sort of state, the Rogue gets further and further behind, and presumably that's why Bunnyhoppor wanted to get a Galakrond available to him. Get those lackeys that can maybe challenge some of this, but it is getting out of control now. And YuYi looking to just keep control. Got to be a little bit careful sometimes with a Zoo. If you end up just trading everything all game, which is what you want to do, it's like what you're trained to do, it's what every fibre of your being tells you to do. Just occasionally you end up sort of trading everything 1-for-1 for the whole game, maybe get a value trade or two, and suddenly realise none of your minions can actually kill your opponent. But I don't think YuYi's in that position yet, but it is something worth looking out for. At some point you just have to flick the switch and go to the face. With known deck lists, and we know deck lists anyway, they're all fairly similar to each other. He knows that this isn't going to be subject to any sort of weird wipeout unless, you know, sometimes you get a fan of knives from a spell lackey, ethereal lackey, but that's pretty rare. First we've got to get the right lackey. So that's nice. Bunnyhoppor does have a turn's worth of time to play with here. It's not a lot, but he won't be dying next turn is what I'm saying. So occupying the board a little bit more is reasonably good for him. Trying to work out if he's actually playing to that Deathwing. Don't think he would be enough, but the speed at which you kill your opponent after playing Deathwing is so quick. And especially if you have Galakrond down before Deathwing. I'm starting to see how the plan works now. You get Galakrond down before Deathwing so you can recover more quickly from Deathwing with your hero power. Obviously, it's not a great recovery, but in the world where YuYi doesn't have a full hand of stuff, which isn't this current world, being able to effectively draw 2 cards a turn because the lackeys are good enough to count as a card in this match is a big deal. So yeah, Bunnyhoppor organising this really nicely, as you would expect from a very, very highly regarded player. But yeah, YuYi once again just fills the entire board up with things. Keeping the pressure on with this carpet bit protection. That's why he's playing taunts. Still no way to get to it. And it's doing all the damage. The little buffs are making all the difference. As well as the rush and all the other obvious stuff here. But So nicely protecting the carpet there, otherwise it would be in real trouble. Can Bunnyhoppor finally get this done now? Yeah, this is a big old clear. Coming together resources. He did keep back the Blackjack Stunner a couple of turns ago when he had spare mana. Made a dagger instead, because this was the play he was hoping to get to. And has reversed the board for the time being at least. And with obviously now Infinite Lackeys, Togwaggle in hand, Deathwing as a backup, it's Bunnyhoppor who maybe in the ascendancy, but maybe that low health total is just a little bit too low. He's going to be forced to concentrate on trading and trading and trading. And of course he has to deal with this absolute nightmare that's just coming down now. But Bunny does have the equipment to do a lot of damage to this. The damage token is just so strong. YuYi has to decide whether he wants to... Well, what he wants to do about that. He can Soulfire it, which actually might be really good. You don't need to, and you'd probably like that Soulfire to go face at some point. But the discard isn't really an issue. And it is very convenient right now to just get this minion off the board. And he does decide to go along with that. Bunnyhoppor facing... had that one turn where everything looked like it might be just going his way, but... turns out that just didn't really last. Yeah, Bunny now, he played with this in mind a while ago. Going back for his last resort, basically. And it doesn't look like it should be able to get there. But it's very difficult to deal with. The Camothed Prime really forcing Bunny's hand here. Prime's pretty good cards in a deck that goes through its cards so rapidly. But look at this now. And I think Bunny will know this. There's still Zephrys to come. Just Zephrys, Shadow Word, Death. Good game. Well played. But part of what he does is just grinds you down mentally. Yes, he will know he's lost this, but why not add another 10 minutes to game time? He's used to it. It's not hurting him to sit there another 10 minutes. I'm just watching how YuYi is choosing to do this. Looks to me like he's actually just choosing to ignore the Deathwing and try and kill his opponent. I don't know. I just played Zephrys and a load of stuff, but he's actually thinking about what he's doing, which is probably wise. He doesn't have a whole lot of resources left, so setting up a lethal does make sense. Make it so that maybe the Deathwing has to do some trading, which is no fun at all. Yeah, lacking this up. Bunny again using his vision. Which world is the world where I somehow win this Hearthstone game? And the way to approach this is do it backwards. You think of it as, okay, someone told you you won this game of Hearthstone. How did it happen? Because usually you can't see yourself winning this game. I mean, why would you win this game? But if you knew that someone had told you you won it, then it helps you work out, well, this must have happened, and then you can pick the card required to make that happen. Wonder if YuYi will go for a spell first to see where he stands. Or will he just set up lethal, which seems far more sensible. Good ordering here, making sure nothing too bad could happen. Doesn't get offered the Shadow Word Death that will be lethal, so now he needs to take Natalie. He's got lethal on board, right? I think there's a 6, a 3 and a 2 of attack left, so you just take Natalie, kill off the Deathwing and go all face. Oh, there's only 6 and 2 available. Okay. So, the funny thing is, when you don't get offered what you're expecting, your brain kind of melts by the look of this. Why? Wait. I'm so confused by that turn. And YuYi's looking at it himself thinking, why did I kill off 2 minions, I think, is a thing that happened here. Why don't you just Shadow Flame Zephyrus? Bunny gives it up, and I'm happy to give it up too. YuYi getting it done. He goes to 1-0 in front. And Bunnyhoppor will not be playing his rogue again today because this is last hero standing. Instead, he's bringing out the Demon Hunter to take on the Zoo. Hey, guess what I'm going to say? Because it's a Zoo game and it's a Demon Hunter game, it's all about the board. This time around, though, Demon Hunter has got stuff to help cheating back. Rogue a little bit slow to develop sometimes, even with a good hand. You can see the trouble it had. But no Scrap Imp here for YuYi. Not a lot going on for Bunnyhoppor. I'm assuming he'll keep the Altruist. Be interested to see if he chooses not to. Because there's 2 ways not to get behind on board. There's either get a bit behind and blow it all up. Or there's just don't get behind in the first place. And he is going for the latter of those 2 options. There's a lot of good stuff you can draw in the deck. But now it's a lot harder to recover from a Scrap Imp. But also the amount of damage that Demon Hunter can put into Zoo is a lot. Like, while you're waiting for Scrap Imp to do its thing. Yeah, and you can see this is so tempting to just play 1-drop coin, 1-drop. Remember, this is pre-nerf. This is a 2-2. And then next turn you can play the Umberwing. Attack. And do chunks of damage. And this is, of course, with a Scrap Imp start for your opponent. That's the start you're scared of. That's the start you want to be able to beat. And apparently it's a 1-2. So I'm curious now. Maybe I got my nerf orders mixed up. Let's go with that. We'll find out. There have been so many nerfs, I think I just managed to blur them all into a mess. And yes, in fact it was the earlier nerf. It's the Priestess and the Sigil Runner that were nerfed the next time, I think. And they are both definitely still doing their thing in this current state of the Gold Team Championship. It's a very different game for Zoo this time around. Forced to just challenge the board and waste abilities. That's never a good spot to be in. And this damage is going to come in thick and fast. This is just turn 2, remember. Bunnyhoppor picking up the satyr as well. It's just fantastic in terms of going wide. This is exactly what you need to do against Zoo. There's no AoE unless you count Carpet as AoE. Just going to be able to build a massive board, and this could be over in a matter of what, in Bunnyhoppor terms, will seem like just a few moments. And YuYi having to play one card at a time doesn't feel so good anymore. Picks up the Scrap Imp, but if he plays it on turn 4, it doesn't do anything to turn 6. That means you don't reap the benefits until turn 7. I mean, you can see how Bunnyhoppor in that time will just have won the game, right? It's way too far behind where you'd like to be. So even this choice, you have 3 valid options. Mortal Coil draws the extra card, removes something at least. The Void Walker slows down the damage but doesn't kill anything, and the Mage at least trades 1 for 1 with something, but you don't get to choose what, and it's probably just a weapon charge. The Searing Light Mage in the translations. So, obvious looking play. Make yourself a 4-2 satyr, attack something, get a 2-2, trade into something, and launch a load of damage to face. Other option available would be to, I mean, the reason I guess it's getting some attention is you could hero power to trade into 2-2, play the Sigil Runner. That's not going anywhere fast, I don't feel. But you do lose the card draw from the Sigil Runner. I guess that is why there is some thought happening. I would love to be inside a considered player's head just for a few hours to work out all of the intricacies of the matrix that are being viewed here. Part of that will have been based on the number of likely draws that you could play that play, followed by, you know, what's my backup plan if I do get an unplayable card. But as you can see now, the way it's worked out is Bunnyhoppor still has his satyr available and has built just as intimidating a board. And hasn't wasted the 1 card draw. Processing the what-ifs of top decks is something that's very hard for the majority of Hearthstone players because humans tend to be risk-averse. So, playing the Sigil Runner there, most people's first thought, including me to some degree, is going to be, what happens if I draw Skull? What happens if I draw a second Adept? Like, my turn's going to be horrible. But, you know, with the Twin Slice in hand and the hero power available and the 1-1 weapon already equipped, and next turn still being good, Bunnyhoppor played the odds there. And now he's drawn an extra card this game with a very similar looking board to what he would have got had he done it the other way. And this extra card is the right hand card in his hand. This is the card he wouldn't have had. And it fits nicely on curve. One of the options here is to try and now keep the satyr until you draw your Warglaives, because then you can make a lot of 2-2s in 1 turn. And so the turn before has made all this follow-on effect happen. He's in no worse position on board and a much, much better position in hand, and now it's paid for itself by allowing him to get a 4-4 on board. And all the time I'm talking about that, YuYi is struggling to get anything established on board, and his health total is just ticking down turn after turn. It's not being slammed down, it's just constant pressure. Camerathad Ebb on lock played, but this time he's not going to be priming up anytime soon, I don't think. And yeah, with no carpet and the scrap imps coming way too late, this board is just not scary. So Bunnyhoppor can kill everything. That's the first thing you notice here. Using the twin slice and the adept would take down the 1/5 for instance. Trading the sightless watcher into the 3/2 for instance. And then you can do what you like with the other minions. But playing optimally, how much do you actually want to go face? How much do you want to kill everything? How do you want it to look at the end of your turn? And killing everything and having a 6/4 in play just seems really good. Try to make your opponent soulfire, for instance. You've kind of started to eat into YuYi's tapping range as well now. He'll only be able to life tap once or twice more in the whole game because of this low health total. And so if you can force him to soulfire your 4/4, the card is relevant. It's like doing 2 more damage. But yeah, it does go for the kill everything, don't do much damage to your face route here. I'll actually just put the watcher in rather than the value trade at the end. Because taking out a 1/1 is just not going to cut it. The carpet, is it in time? I think he can be not... Oh, can he be not dead? Can he actually be not dead? Hero power is a thing for Demon Hunter. Okay, now he's not dead, but before the card draw, he was dying. That's a big deal that he picked up another 1-drop. Not quite sure why he's shaking his head. Ordering issues, I guess. What's going to get the buff? Trying to work out what the issue was there. This just seemed like it was correct. He didn't seem to think the same way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. And the olden days, you'd put the zoo to 1 if you could, because you don't want them to ever tap again, and putting them to 1 was a big deal. But this deck can draw so readily that maybe Bunnyhoppor won't play that way. I think there's an easy trade. You put one of your whelps into the 2/1 for instance to protect your watcher. That seems like a natural looking trade. You can also afford the health, but do you want to protect a 1/1 or do you want to... Yeah, so you kill the 2/1 with your face. You kill the Argent Squire with your face, you're missing 2 damage. And these 1/1s feel like they're not going to get more than 2 or 3 more hits in the whole game. And actually Bunnyhoppor just going with, once again, the kill everything option. And once again setting up, challenging YuYi to not die next turn. And with the double scrapping going off, that seems like a good plan. Well, Zephyrus has gone yellow. So Brawl is a card he has access to. Holy Nova is a card he has access to, which is obviously better. Consecration, another one. With your opponent above 15 health, I believe that means it'll offer the Nova, not the Consecration. I don't think it ever offers both. That could be incorrect. I know that things change when you get to 15, when your opponent gets to 15 health. In that regard, because the Holy Nova, since the Priest rework, no longer goes face. And it looks to me like he's going to play the 1-drop first to absolutely make sure that he gets one of those 2 4-drops. And there you go, it offers both. We learned something today. Or at least I did. Well, that's turned the game around rather a lot. Bunny facing 14 points of damage. What can the skull do? So if he plays rapidly here, he can play the Satyr into getting another card from the Sickle Runner. That's what he does. He had more time on the clock than I thought as well. It's another Fell Screamer. Where's he going to put the point of damage? Yeah, I mean, nowhere else seems to do anything, so face seems to be the place. Jar Dealer. Amuses me a little. And it replaces itself. How lovely. Yeah, Bunny's sitting back in his seat wondering where this all went wrong. This game looked to be completely in the bag for the longest time. Kept the board under control, and he did miss a chance to go face a couple of times by doing this, but this just seemed like an unlikely thing to happen. But the double Scrap Imp, would it have been different? I don't know, but it seems that by not going face with the double Scrap Imp, it has made things a bit difficult for him. And he is looking at going 2-0 down, and he's already lost 3-0, so he could be 0-5. And I think Team Liquid would be, it regards some bias because they're players we see all the time, but it is very difficult to have a better Hearthstone team, no matter how good you are, than Bunnyhoppor, Purple and Frozen. This is just a strong team, and if Liquid do go 0-2 in this first week, that's going to crack the league wide open. And VK in particular, who are off to a great start, will be licking their lips at being two matches ahead of Liquid already. VK's XHX, a player to keep an eye on by the look of things. And they still have the world or the global champion, whichever one you prefer to phrase it. She's still to come in future weeks. So VK off to a fantastic start here in week 1. Okay. Good luck with this one, Bunny. This seems hugely optimistic. Yep, he gives you that when something crazy happens. A slight smirk on his face. That's the Bunnyhoppor. Well, I know. And he's 0-2 down in the last hero standing, and in a position where if he's going to win this match, he's going to have to do it with Mage all the way. We've seen a lot of decks go 3 wins. Don't think we've seen Mage do it yet, though. And so Bunnyhoppor is going to have to get it done against the Zoo, against the Stealth Rogue, and against the Pain Warrior, with Demon Hunter banned out. And this deck is part of the reason that Bunnyhoppor is leaving up the Warrior, not the Demon Hunter, I think. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. See if it pays off for him. So interesting to see how Bunnyhoppor controls the early game, if possible, here. And the reason I'm concentrating on Bunny, just to be absolutely clear on this, is nothing to do with the fact that he is the Western Grandmaster and I know more about him, although that is true. The reason I'm concentrating on him is he is the control player. It is much easier to cast from the control side in general. You assume that the aggro player, I was going to say plays on curve, but this is actually a really interesting choice that might defy that logic. this particular turn, keeping back the sidekick against Mage. That seems wise. But in general, how do you want to react? How do you want to best preserve against the Zoo? I will, of course, be looking at how the Zoo plays as well, but in general, the aggro deck curves out in some form or other, despite the difficult decisions they sometimes have to face. Difficult decision number 2. If you play Zephyrus, you have a very set game plan of winning in one attack. If you tap, you've done no damage to Mage and have nothing on board after 2 turns, and your next turn is playing a 1/6. Do you trust your deck? I think I would play the Zephyrus here, and then next turn sidekick plus whatever comes off the top of my deck. And then the turn after that, carpet plus whatever comes off the top of my deck. And that doesn't sound at all inviting. And I would absolutely understand it here if YuYi just decides to tap and play not a good looking game of Hearthstone. Bunny went through a series of facial expressions there that summed up, I don't know what you're doing, but I don't mind, because whatever it is, I've got it under control. So interesting for Bunny here, he can obviously play, I was going to say the Prime here, it's not the Prime, and I always forget his name. Astromancer Solarian. That's a possibility. Get the Prime into your deck is good, because Solarian Prime is one of the best cards in Hearthstone right now. Or he may consider he's got the time, given what his opponent's done, to go to Zephyrus and then go into Wild Growth. But this feels like the more sensible option. You want that Zephyrus later on to clear a board. Times are going to be tough when the Warlock does resolve itself, if it's the best it can do. And Jar Dealer, probably the worst card in the deck that's actually playable. And also, having the Solarian Prime, I knew I was going to do it. I didn't know I was going to do it first time though. Having the Astromancer down so early, it does have that other ability. It does have the spell damage +1 that is easily overlooked, and that can also be an issue here. Not on this occasion, by the look of it. And it's actually Bunnyhoppor who's now got some considering to do. So if he plays Zephyrus and got Backstab, the Backstab would do 3 damage due to the spell damage from the Astromancer. It's not just about shuffling the Prime in, that spell damage is useful. It's a bit weird actually, because the shape of the Astromancer is annoying. It's a 3-2, which is more of an attacking shape than a defensive one. But if Backstab gets offered here from Zephyrus, I think it's just a thing you do. You have 2 3-attack minions versus no Zoo minions, and you've killed off their carpet. Then next turn you're playing into your Bone Wraith. Interesting. So Bunnyhoppor choosing to over 2 turns. That does allow YuYi to at least start getting onto the board here. YuYi doing some sort of counting, probably regarding remaining cards in the deck and so on. Making sure it's not turn 6, it's not, because getting this board Reno'd would just lose the game on the spot, I feel. The first Reno, the Relicologist. You really don't want to put 9 health down, but putting 9 health down now, and then next turn putting down the Matron and going, yeah, okay, there's a lot of health. Reno wouldn't be too happy about that. So there goes the Polymorph. It's a valuable commodity you really don't want to have to waste, but that one's done. And now the Scrap Imp. And yeah, this is my gut feeling about this. It's that YuYi's just been too slow at the start of the game to mess around much longer. Mage gets out of control later on. You can see already if Mage is actually on the edge of setting up with Power of Creation in a couple of turns' time. That was actually Deep Freeze. But basically the same thing. 2 big minions, Alex Straza face, hit opponent. Opponent cries. Very hard to see how YuYi's going to get through this. I'm not sure what the issue is. I think he's wondering whether to sidekick the 1-3 in case he has to deal with a Flame Ward, or sidekick the 1-1 because it's a dead minion. And I like this choice. Also, Rolling Thunder positioning a big deal here. So he's made it so it adds up to 8 in either direction. I'm not sure that's correct. Maybe there wasn't a way to do it actually. Yeah, wherever you put the carpet, it's always going to line up so there's a 5, a 1 and a 2 next to each other of some sort. So yeah, this is good positioning. And that's what made the beaming sidekick decision so much harder, I guess. You could have made the sheep 3. I like cards like Rolling Thunder. I think Rolling Thunder itself, or Rolling Fireball, I keep calling it Rolling Thunder. Throwback to something I played in the past, maybe there. But Rolling Fireball is the sort of card I like a lot in terms of skill. It's a little bit too powerful because it tends to just say 5 mana, kill the board. If there's a smaller version, let's say there was a 2 mana version that did 4 damage. That would also be really powerful, so probably too much. But forcing your opponent to consider where they put things, and that making a difference to the game, that's somewhere I like that is being explored in Hearthstone right now. Okay. Bunnyhoppor gets his secret played. I believe that's Ice Barrier. And he's willing to pass a turn doing nothing. So, preserving the coin is high on his list of things here. Happy to absorb 8 damage. And I'd like to see YuYi get a scrap him down this turn. I think that he's going to get enough damage through that creating a backup plan of big minions to go for a second assault is a good deal. And he sees, yeah, this is just got to be good. Do you play Voidwalker as well? So with Bunny on 25, I think the sidekick hasn't attacked. Is there any reason to have the extra space taken? I like to keep a space open in my decks. Alright, so Bunnyhoppor can just freeze if he wants here. But then he takes away the opportunity to maybe Doomsayer Frost Nova. Another disconnect. First one was only 4 seconds. Let's hope this goes roughly the same. Yep. I imagine something connecting to Chinese servers from Europe. It's quite a long way. So Siamat's going to take care of the 5-5. And he's actually just going to take care of the carpet as well. Deciding whether to get the value trade or not, actually. And it's worth thinking about. He's got 27 health to play with, so he can use that. Especially more health still to come as well. But does elect to take out the bigger minion. some extent it's good for Bunnyhoppor if these smaller minions are there. He wants nothing to be there, but in the world where you know that something has to be there, at least he can deal with these with things like Flame Ward if it comes off the top of the deck. He also obviously has Zephyrus into Holy Novas that we've talked about before. Kartut Defender stands off quite nicely against this board, at least relatively. It's challenging YuYi to make a proper minion, but after this turn, when the Scrap Imp goes off, he's going to have a handful of proper minions. Oh. Yeah, and now Bunnyhoppor has done a really good job of preserving resources to get here, but now every turn is an emergency. He's got to assume there's at least one Soulfire in the opposing hand. I mean, there isn't, but he doesn't know that. And so far, it's just about buying a turn every time. This is something I find a little bit awkward with the Mage deck, is snatching back the initiative is very difficult, because you play just one card a turn so often. And I think that's where Deep Freeze has actually turned out to be a better card than maybe people thought. When you're playing against somebody who has one huge minion, playing Deep Freeze is that tempo switch you're looking for, even though it's only one card you play. And I think that may have been underrated by a lot of people in the reviews, the previews that we all know and love. And it's amazing how far off the community still gets on those. But of course expects the design team to get everything perfectly right. And I for one am very happy with how things have progressed. Design team taking more chances and being willing to correct the outcome of those chances if they're not happy with it very rapidly. So Demon Hunter, they took a chance on how powerful it was going to be, and within a day they'd nerfed 2 or 3 cards, and I think that's just better to have 2 or 3 days of player inconvenience where, yeah, the cards are overpowered and what is this nonsense, than to not have the cards, because Demon Hunter has added a lot to Hearthstone, and all that happened is we had to play overpowered mirrors for 2 days with cards that were given to us for free. Like, is that a hardship? I don't think it is. I think it was fun. And even if it wasn't fun for you, which I don't understand, but I'm sure there'll be people out there, people have opinions, that's the point. I think that you'll find that, you know, now it's been balanced up, Demon Hunter is a welcome addition to Hearthstone. It's managed to create its own identity very rapidly. And a part of that identity is, lol, remember the days when Demon Hunter did this nonsense. So, Bunnyhoppor locking down the complete board here. That's how he's found his attempt to swing things around turn. And what it means is YuYi can't do anything this turn apart from draw cards. And we'll now overdraw, which isn't too much of an issue. Slightly irritating for him, but might not be the worst time to kill off Camothad. Just in case it does get overdrawn, that's a thing you could worry about. But really there's bigger, more pressing issues here for Bunny, like how do I kill everything? And now he's picked up the Prime. This is actually very complicated. The Prime is super good because it doesn't target your minions. It's super good in these situations, but it's only 5 spells and you can low roll it. So I'm very curious to see. I think Bunny will just, yeah, he's hovering over the Zephyrus. Zephyrus now, take care of as much as you possibly can with a Shadow Flame. Yeah, none of this weird Shadow Flaming from last game. And then next turn, you play your Prime and probably beat the Zoo. But with the backup plan that you probably don't die if it just sprays really bad cards all over the place. Solarian Prime might well be the best single card in Hearthstone right now. Obviously, you have to fiddle around to actually get it in your hand, and that's the point. Old Elise was like that. You had to get various stages, which meant you didn't usually get it to the last 2 or 3 cards in your deck. The Primes cut out one of those stages. But having it this early is still quite the blessing. So here comes the reload, and some of this stuff is pretty hefty now. Oh, the hefty stuff's gone. Excuse me. Okay, so how much damage is being faced down now? Okay, there is a buff card or two. So only slightly mad. 2, 4, 7, 9, 10. 15 attack on the board. You can allow for some damage in hand. But also, if your Solarian misses 5 times with AoE, then you're just unlucky. Alright, hold tight, let's see what happens. Yeah, Blizzard, straight out the box. No messing around for Bunnyhoppor. And the rest is now just a free roll of good things. So you get a bit unfortunate. Unfortunately, he will definitely take this outcome, but you know, it's nice to do all the targeted stuff early because it targets your opponent's stuff. And get the Blizzard last in a and now he'll finish it off with one of the more powerful cards next turn. You would think. YuYi may be tempted here. The Zephyrus is yellow. Just to get himself a Tyrion. He saw the Polymorph very early in this game. And the other minions aren't going to get there, most likely. I think maybe you just go for Tyrion now. Get that huge board presence. Hope to draw your Prime next turn. Because Mage is just going to be able to deal with this nothing that you're about to try and put on the board. Give me a Tyrion, make them find a way to get rid of it. That's going to get frozen up, but they can't trade into it. You might get some time. Nope, wants more cards. I wonder if he's trying to think of a world where he can get 7 damage in and get a Pyroblast from Zephyrus. There's a lot to consider when you have Zephyrus in your hand. And I'm sure that I'm not considering all of it. I'm sure I'll be missing bits. So he's going to go for one last board occupation. What this will do is allow Zephyrus to maybe get a Bloodlust in some circumstances. I'm trying to work out if there's a way there that he could have set up getting more Zephyruses. That might have been entertaining. I think it was possible, but I think that's actually what he's doing anyway. And he's actually trying to set up getting more primes, so that makes more sense. Bunnyhoppor. Setting up the wall. Ready to start going in for damage. And YuYi's chances of having something proactive to do to finish this game off seem to be all but gone. Like, not dying for a few turns is going to be fine, but he's nearly out of cards. Okay, there's the card he's been looking for. He's not going to have time to discard it because he didn't actually draw it. And you can tell by the look on his face that this is not in the slightest what he was looking for. And Bunnyhoppor now just is spoilt for choices. Rolling Fireball, taking out these two. I think it stops dormant. Does it roll over it? It does roll over it. think Bunnyhoppor knew that. He did take no chances though, which is cool. Started it on the right side. Or the correct side, the left side.
Whoa, legendary!
And I don't know, I mean, this started off absolutely horribly for YuYi. His opening hand was grim. But one of the decisions he made all the way back on turn 2 was not to play Zephyrus. He decided to go for a longer game. Now, if you're going to go for the longer game, at some point that Zephyrus has to do something. So, for instance, maybe a turn or two ago he could have gone for Tyrion. Is one opportunity where that could have done something. But what's happened is he's played the entire game, he's gone through his entire deck, and Zephyrus is still in his hand. Well, if you're going to do that, play it on turn 2. I'm getting really cranky in my old age, aren't I? Still 2-1 to YuYi. And we see the Stealth Rogue with a good looking start. Let me just check it is a Stealth Rogue. That's what it is in my notes. But sometimes my notes lie when it comes to Rogues and Highlander. Yeah, this is a Stealth Rogue indeed. Does have a questing adventure in it. And everything else is basically what you'd expect. So the great thing about this is just staying stealthed, drawing cards, and this deck rapidly goes through its deck. And interestingly, actually, YuYi's remaining decks, all of the decks he has brought involve good card draw. Stealth Rogue, Zoo Warlock, we've got the Pain Warrior next with the crazy Battle Ragers, and the Demon Hunter, which just draws cards. And that's very much a stylistic choice. It's also something that Mage isn't going to enjoy. These aren't bad matchups for Mage overall, but it's not going to enjoy constantly having to deal with the tempo that comes from the card advantage in Rogue in particular. When it does this thing, I mean, this is this opening hand that you play the deck for. Deciding whether to trade or whether he wants to shadow step and do it all again. My instinct is to trade. I think you've got to do something at some point. We saw last game what going for the slower strategy looks like against Mage. But definitely worthy of consideration. Especially when he has like Seal Fate available next turn. Not the pickup Bunnyhoppor was after. What he really wants to do is just play his Mana Saber, sorry, next turn, and just do something this turn. Or have maybe pick up a Twilight Drake and be able to play 2 4-drops in a row. And waste the coin on a nice curve. But coining into a 4 when you then don't have a play for 2 turns, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him look to the other side now and go through his deck list and do some counting of exact numbers for how many top decks do I have in the world where I coin out this Mana Saber. There we go. I don't think that's what it... Oh, maybe I'm right. And he does it. He does, of course, generate a mana next turn if he does pick up a 5-drop. It also challenges the Sage really nicely. And this pickup is kind of why we saw YuYi have a bit of a think last turn. Because had he not made the trade, he could now Seal Fate the minion that was there last turn. And also now play the Sage again and draw 2 more cards. But as it is, he's going to play the Maniac, which isn't bad. Like, getting your Galakron up to full speed and picking up a weapon that can do some chunky damage isn't a disaster, but this card is contentious overall, especially when we fast forward to the present time. It's such an awful card, but it's also so required. I think the balance on it is very good. 4 mana 2/2. Ugh. Nice pickup for Bunnyhoppor, I think. Still struggling for something to do next turn, but maybe the spell he picks up from this will be something he can do next turn. Sure, but he'll have plenty of mana left over. On the assumption the Mana Saver is going to die right now. This is one of the other issues of playing against Mage that makes it very difficult and awkward and, dare I even say it, irritating. Is you feel like you're constantly trying to get rid of the last bit of health on their minions. So this Mana Saver is going to be a 3/2, you have to trade into it. And that's another turn you didn't do any damage. And it does wear you down. And then when you see things like Reno and Solarian Prime coming back at you the other way, you do end up with this feeling of why? Why am I running up this hill? That being said, Rogue has its own bag of tricks that can make you feel pretty irritated, and Flick Sky Shiv with Shadow Step, also with Seal Fate available and Lackeys available with Togwaggle on 7. So may even hang on to this Lackey and not even worry about others. YuYi is going to get a lot of play of his own. And Bunnyhoppor very likely to just miss a turn next turn. I mean, don't get me wrong, the turns after next turn are absolutely insane, and if YuYi's not a long way ahead on board by turn 6, YuYi's never getting a long way ahead on board, I don't think. Okay. So Bunnyhoppor, because the Mana Saber lived, does get to 6-drop things. Oh. Yeah, okay, world. That's how I feel when I play against this. Dragon Caster, straight into Power of Creation, into double Cairn. And when I was talking earlier that Cairn wasn't the right job earlier, Cairn is most definitely the job for this one. This is beautiful looking. So, back in the good old days, Cairns weren't great against Rogue because they would get sapped. But Sap's barely played. Blackjack Stunner won't be in this deck because it's the stealth version. Assuming he has got Sap in here, in fact. Yeah, 1 Sap in the deck. And 2 Cairns, so that equation doesn't work out too well for YuYi. And Buddy's just going to kill him in 2 turns from here, I think. Rogue doing all its itty-bitty tempo-y stuff, but when it's just faced with a wall like this, bad things can happen. Interesting, he didn't choose to deal with it with Flick Shadow Step, instead choosing to do rogue things. Obviously it would have taken a while, but it would have got rid of them over 2 turns at least. And just here comes all the things. So, I ask of you, viewer, who's going to have some fun? Because I don't think it's YuYi. I'd kind of like it if the voice lines were different. Like, if you play a card and it's doing good things for you, you hear, we're going to have some fun, but the other side hears, I don't know, maniacal laughing or clown music or something like that. Something a lot less pleasant than we're going to have fun. Because it isn't fun having Reno blow up your board. It's far from it. So this is almost, I mean, it's not solved. Obviously, Rogue has way too many cards for that, but I think the Bunnyhopper's taking so long here as he can just go through my Reno, Solarian Prime. But then what doesn't get played? Oh, I don't get to play my healing. Do I care? Yeah, and Bunnyhoppor is the one having fun, is the answer to the question earlier. And chunky damage. And YuYi going for a 0 mana card. It needs to be a super one. Oh, I thought... Okay, sorry, it's 4. I missed the... If I've been thinking, I knew that. But I missed the level badge and therefore thought it was 0 for some reason. Just makes a lot more sense. But as it happens, he's just whiffed completely on these. Some sort of nonsense Edwin would have been nice. What do you even do here? And YuYi expressing the same emotion as me. What do you even do here? You're dead in 2 turns and you can't challenge the board. Oof. Yeah, I mean, where do you want to point that? Not pleasant. Not pleasant at all. And now I think we are just going to see the Kartoot Defender. Solarium Prime just not good enough here, I don't think. You've got to be careful. You know your opponent's got 2 0 mana cards. And a whole load of probably medium casting cost cards. As it happens, some aren't. But you don't really know what's going to come your way next turn if you're Bunnyhoppor. So keeping back a form of removal would make some sense. You're definitely not guaranteed to be setting up lethal next turn. Despite the fact it does obviously look that way. And for where we're sat, it looks even more that way, of course. YuYi trying to clear this and make a giant questing is going to rely on some help from the rest of his hand and from the lackeys. I'd be looking for spells. I'd be looking for saps. You want to get rid of this stuff so it doesn't come back. You're not going to kill it very likely. I would be looking for saps, get those cairns back in hand. Otherwise you're just never going to remove enough damage. Did try and get a card out of his deck first. That's obviously not a stupid choice. See where he goes now. Most things just lose.
Whoa, legendary!
Woke me up. Right, sealing some fate, but I think the only fate that is sealed for YuYi here is his fate in game at number 4. He just gives it up. That didn't look very convincing in fairness. I think he had better options than that. Whew, that music was scary for a moment. That goes to 2-all. Bunnyhoppor gets to stay on his mage, but now he'll be against the warrior. And I think for the uneducated player, the ladder players of all breeds, that this may be slightly favoured for the mage, but I think at the top level that's not necessarily the case. However, this game, as I hate to remind people because it sort of breaks the fourth wall slightly, but this did take place a month ago, which means this warrior does not contain Grom. It does in fact contain 2 eggs, 2 Tolvirs, 2 Korkuns. So, and 2 bomb cowboys. Amazing. One day we'll be able to translate Chinese into a more nuanced form, but for now I'm just enjoying the way the translations come across. Well, You put this in there to have this curve. Obviously, you put this in your deck to have the curve into the likes of Rampage. You want to do that on turn 3, but really you just put this deck on your deck, this card in your deck, so you have something to do on 2. That's what he decides to use it for. Bunnyhoppor's had slows every single time. And 2. Having a Swamp Ooze is a beautiful thing to have available to you. Warrior getting its first weapon oozed is such a monstrously big deal. And actually, looking back at that first turn, it was really hard. Corsair Cash now not going to be used. For some time, you would think. There's no easy way to play this turn. Ah, what do you do here? Do you just play the Mercenary here? This is where I'm very comfortable solo casting, but this is where I want to co-cast, because I want to ask them, do you play your 3/3 Mercenary here? Just to have something on board. And then next turn, maybe Battle Rage, and then turn 5 Corsair Cash and play the weapon and kill something. YuYi thinks you do. And there was another question there as well. Did you want it to be a 2/3? Or did you want it to be a 4/2 when you copied it? That was certainly on the agenda. It does have issues in a lot of situations, especially against, say, Flame Ward. But at the moment you're sitting on a hand full of absolute nothing. I guess you want to keep the Inner Rage for next turn, and then you can Battle Rage for more cards, assuming that something's alive on board. We have seen Bunnyhoppor be very, very greedy with a coin. Something very much of note so far. Wow, and the way YuYi has played this, he's forced down the Swamp Ooze. So that Corsair Cash is now much, much better. And this line is working out for him. It may be that Bunny's decided there is no weapon, because the Corsair Cash didn't get played, so I can play my Ooze. Because obviously, if it's not killing anything for 3 or 4 turns, you're better off challenging the board now. Again, as I keep stating, the Mage, when it gets those later turns, doesn't really care what you do, because it's got such amazing value available. So you don't mind giving up value early on, just to stay alive. But that means YuYi is going to get access to a good weapon. Terran, though, not the best of pickups. Especially as there's a polymorph in Bunny's deck that we've seen. I believe, at least. Again, if you're wondering why I don't just use the deck list given to me, well, I do most of the time, but they can be a little bit misleading if I'm not careful. Yep, there is a Transfiguration, which very much sounds like polymorph to me, in the deck. And so this is taking a bit of a risk. Conjurer's Calling being the card on the left, of course. Before anyone wonders if that's the polymorph, it's not. So because he has the coin and Reno, one option that may tempt Bunnyhoppor, although I don't think he really needs to because he doesn't want to waste the coin, would be just to trade this off and ping it now. Take some damage next turn and then Reno and everything dies. The trouble with that is if your opponent plays a War Maul Challenger or something, your Reno turns into absolute nothing. War Maul just sucks up that damage. And Bunny does make the interesting decision not to go face there, I think. Which is always a relevant discussion when your opponent has Battle Rages, and he's not been doing much, so there's more chance than normal that the Battle Rage is relevant. Probably just a good read, to be fair. Trying hard not to fall into the trap of always giving the top players, you know, the benefit of the doubt. In this instance, it's very much makes sense. It is about withstanding with Mage here and just running Warrior out of things, especially in the no Grom version. You can just make them have not enough stuff to win the game. And this is a matchup I've largely played from the Warrior side, and I've always found it very taxing mentally, but still seems fine as a matchup. But to have that very mentally taxing problem and then multiply it by how much Bunnyhoppor makes you think about your life, probably isn't that much fun. Alright, what's going to happen this time? Are we just looking at Conjurer's Calling? He doesn't know what we're looking at. He just knows he had to play it. Nope. Looking at Deep Freeze. Feel like you draw cards here. Are you hitting anything with your face first? It's going to be the last chance you get in a while. It might be very tempting to put a Corcoran in your face into one of the water elementals. Because if you don't do that, and it doesn't sound like fun doing that, you may never attack again. One of the reasons Deep Freeze is so good against Warrior, shutting down those weapons. Well, tempted to do it this way now. That shuts off your Battle Rage. I mean, wasting Corcorans is bad news. So he's trying to do everything he can to avoid doing that. I've got to respect it, really. Copying the Terron. It's a lot of value, but I seem to remember the second one stays frozen, the way it works. There we go. So this protects against Reno. Kind of. But only kind of. Alright, so there's the ordering coming into play. On the Conjurer's Calling, it's not too bad, but not what you'd expect actually. No, it's just not good at all, in fact. You're entitled for that to be better. $20 health, still a decent amount, but if you end up eating 5 more from the Terron and then a bit more from the weapon, then it's not so comfortable. You want to shut this weapon down by hitting face. I just don't want this to ever attack again. The value you get as well from the attack of the weapon is just too much. Yep, I like how this turn ended up. And again, with no Grom in the deck, and with the Mercenary being played early, so Corcoran, and did we see both in a rage? We saw at least one in a rage as well. I think we may have seen both. So, very combo light. If YuYi's going to get this done, he's going to get it done from the board. And if he starts trading the Terrons away, which I think he has to, because otherwise he just gets killed at Bunnyhoppor's leisure. Well, 20 health for Bunnyhoppor going into the latter turns as a mage. is a big deal. YuYi struggling to organise his thoughts at times. He hasn't had a risky skipper or an anchor, so not being able to really get into the game in ways that he might like. Yeah, and he was hoping not to have to do this as well, but he has made a big wide board. This is as good as you could hope for, but he's lost a lot of his utility from hand. Oh, and Bunny picks up Zephyrus. How good is Master Dispel here? It's pretty good, right? Either a 2/6 or 3/3. Pingable. Oh, you haven't got the... Oh, you can just trade into what's left of the Terron then as well. And win at your leisure. If you're sure it's going to give you Master Spell, which... I used to know my Zephyrus really well, and then in recent times, since patches and stuff, it doesn't quite do what I think anymore. But there are sites now where you can actually play like Zephyrus games and see what you get offered and learn it that way. But typical Bunnyhoppor, preserving everything as long as he can. What's he looking for here for one? Silence? Earthshock, okay, sure. So figuring that he didn't necessarily want to risk the Master Spell, but knew he could force the Earthshock and be in this good position. Or maybe he just felt this was better than Master Spell. Either way, it's looking good now. You do have to take care of these water elementals. If you're not close enough to kill your opponent when you're in this spot against Mage, you have to kill the water elementals. And that's just 12 points of health that you don't get to put to the opponent's face. And that's a huge amount. And now, Tortol and Pilgrim. Next turn for Bunny. Are we going to see a box? Box could give about 1,000,000 armor and 1,000,000 bombs to your opponent, but let's see. Malygos may prevent us from ever seeing. Yogg-Saron's Mystery. And there is the option here as well to play your Reno. It gives your opponent a actual 1,000,000 armor. But it's not too bad. Like, how does the warrior ever recover? Armor or not? You beat them down in 2 or 3 turns with a bunch of 4/6s and 4/4s and things. Yeah, it looks like to me. This looks to me like he's going to Reno. Is he going to ping the bomb first or after? After, right? You want the Reno to absorb bomb damage instead of your 4/3. And so yeah, just sucking up the fact that you're giving your opponent a load of armor here, but you're also killing everything they own and developing a frightfully looking board. Plus you've got Alexstrasza coming in a minute, which will do 9 damage anyway. And saving your Pilgrim for other times. Well, your plan of getting back in the game at this point is normally, how do I get myself a Grom to stick? There is no Grom. There isn't much at all. So plan B is start with this lackey. Actually, you want dragons, big dragons. Alexstrasza might get you out, as in Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. Wait until you can play that and maybe get lucky with her. But all this stuff is just mucking about, really. There we go. Take your pick. 5/5, draw a card, or dragon that can win you the game. It's actually a tough choice. Is there enough left in YuYi's deck to actually merit taking a big old whelp? YuYi thinks so. It makes sense, I think. It's forcing Bunnyhoppor to do things once again. He doesn't want to do things, he just wants to start the job of reducing his health total onto an empty board. Super Flame Strike would be... or Malygos' Flame Strike would be good insurance should things get out of hand. Yeah, that's the play. None of the cards are needed now, so take the one that might be helpful. Now question number 2, do you want to play your Mana Saber or do you want to ping kill the whelp? I want to ping kill the whelp. If you want to do that, do you want to play a Doomsayer so that you blow up your own board, but then you get the tempo back on your side to either go for a box or an Alexstrasza, depending how you feel? It's quite unlikely that the Doomsayer gets killed. Actually, is it? This is pre-nerf, so it's 6 damage from the Brute alone. I'm wrong. It's quite likely that Doomsayer gets killed, so this is good. Bunny is, though, going to absorb 5 more damage this way. Hasn't taken any damage for a while, but obviously he's got Alexstrasza to self-heal if needed, but just not ideal. So YuYi thinking, but he's got time. Force your opponent to trade. I like going face here. It looks absolutely horrific, but putting 8 into the Malygos, I feel like you never win. I mean, this is not fun having to do this, but I feel like you never win trading into Malygos. This is what you want. You want lackeys that are producing you good value, maybe some high damage spells. Should be helping him clear with the ramming speed. It's quite nice. It's a bit unfortunate how the current mana situation, how the current enemy situation is, but ramming speed's pretty good. Even if it doesn't quite kill things. Really important pickup here, I think, for Bunnyhoppor. To taking his card to Defender. Because 11 from hand is possible. We've seen a lot of this stuff, but I'm pretty sure we saw both in the Rages, although not 100% on that. Which means maybe YuYi would need a risky skipper to injure and then rampage up on his second Korkon Elite. And then I think his second Mercenary would be needed to copy that. So Bunny's not likely to die is the outcome of what I just said anytime soon. But he is struggling to mount enough of an attack to finish off this 35 health. And it keeps feeling like he's got it done. So again here, it feels like Bunnyhoppor has wrapped this up, but he hasn't looked at the hand. These aren't doing much, but they can be buffed. Oof, though. Starting to run slowly out of time. I think you go face, get yourself a good lackey and see where you end up. There is the chance to trade. The ramming speed and take out the Mana Saber is a thing that he can do. This helps. There's such a big difference between a 110 and a 210. Doesn't quite work out that way. Obviously you have to attack first, which means that the buff on the first one doesn't work. You can also ramming speed and then trade into the Malagos and then just play 110 on its own. A 2-5 will trade exactly with a 110. But instead holds back a little. I think I just want to play the Pilgrim. The trouble is, every caster and viewer ever wants to see a box. And the box is usually good, but from where Bunnyhoppor's sat, he will feel that he's in such a dominating position that he doesn't want to risk a bad box. There aren't many, but there's more bad boxes than there used to be bad Yogs, for instance. It can be a thing that goes wrong. But he's in such a good position, he may not want to. Boo. But it's probably right. Not a fan of leaving a 1-1 hanging around when you've got a reborn minion on the board. Feels like you give them a good trade. But then he just gained the 3 health, so whatever. Slowly but surely, the health total's coming back to reality after the armouring earlier. Which is why Bunnyhoppor wasn't scared of letting the armour get a bit out of control. But it has been a bit irritating. It's meant that Bunny's had to faff around for a few turns. It's a technical word. I'm good at those technical words. It's like both sides are just waiting for something useful to do, but YuYi did get through a lot of his something useful to do cards quite early in the piece. He's seen the face freezes, he's seen the weapon removal, so equipping the Ankar now makes sense. I'm hoping Bunny whiffs, because I want to see what he does with his hand if he whiffs. He doesn't whiff. He draws Dragon Queen Alexstrasza against a 1-7, so he's got perfect time to play it. The only way to start... Oh, ouch! Hi there. Bunny's got all the things. Can't give Mage a 0-mana Malagos, it's not a fair thing to do. Everybody gets 10 mana crystals. It's actually yeah, I need to do work on my dragons and art. I always think it's Nazari, and it never is. Because Nazari is more of a close-up headshot than that. Well, yeah, full body shot. Whatever, dragons are big. I want to call it a headshot. Meanwhile, YuYi is going a kind of all in. If you can deal with the Malagos, note Bunnyhoppor's great positioning here, by the way. Well, this is a big deal. This is something you should be doing pretty much automatically. But he has made this hard work for this ramming speed to get its job done. Yes, it did get its job done. But because Bunnyhoppor positioned correctly, he forced a lot of awkwardness there. And YuYi actually did get into a good spot there temporarily, but the amazing Reno is probably closing this one out. Would be a reverse sweep for Bunnyhoppor. There's very little here for YuYi now. I think there's nothing to come from the anchor. I think he's had all 4 pirates. It's one of the issues. That's not actually that good. It's just hilarious. It's one of the issues with the non-greenskin version. The good thing being you get your risky skippers earlier against Demon Hunter and you destroy them. The downside being that sometimes you just want another pirate for some value. And personally, I prefer having a greenskin. But again, this deck is way before Meaty puts greenskin in. Alright, big dragon, go face. This is Hearthstone we can all understand now. Egg. Somebody's going to go 0-2 and it's looking very much like it's going to be World Elite. They've been around a long time, this team. But it's looking like Liquid get to 1-1. The end of the first week of play. There is another game, another match today, still to come. But this is the week done for these two teams. You get 2 games per, or 2 matches per week. And it's looking, unless something insane is in the deck that I've forgotten exists, and it's certainly not an injured Tolvir, that YuYi starting off his campaign 0-2, and World Elite will be very near the bottom of the league. Team Liquid 1-1. We've still got Purple and Frozen to come from them in future weeks of this phase, this 3-week phase. But 1-1, not too bad. And the longest match we have had, by some margin, results in a reverse sweep for Bunnyhoppor. Gets the job done, and Team Liquid 1-1.